When I moved into a new apartment, I was handed a horrifying set of rules. When my boyfriend and I finally found our new apartment, we thought it was perfect. It had everything we wanted. We just didn't expect it to turn into our worst nightmare. On our first night, everything seemed normal. I felt safe and happy, but I don't think that feeling is coming back anytime soon, and it's all due to the note I found this morning. I found it in the kitchen inside of the cupboards that were fixed to the wall. The note was handwritten with, "To the residents of apartment 42, in beautiful cursive on the blank side. I opened it up and sat down to read. Dear new resident, firstly, welcome to your new home. I lived here before you for 35 years with my husband. Unfortunately, he had an incident at home recently that I'd rather not discuss that took his life, which is why I cannot live here anymore. So I thought it was important that I pass some knowledge on to you. If you want to survive and get the best out of this home, there are some steps you need to follow. Rule 1. The landlord will never communicate with you. If you hear or see him, lock your doors and shut your windows. I have only dealt with him once in 35 years, and let's just say after what happened to my husband, I never missed another rent day. Rule 2. Do not use the elevator at 3 a.m. And if it ever stops on your floor during this time, do not open the door. This is the most important one, and it will save your life. Rule 3. When you hear the strange entity noises coming from apartment 48, do not try to investigate them. Just lock your doors and continue on with your day. Rule 4. If you ever come across a window cleaner on the balcony, ignore him. No matter how nice he may sound, you can't interact with him. He is not what he seems. The last person that talked to him got their skull ripped open. Rule 5. Don't communicate with anyone who claims to live in apartments 65 to 72. The real residents were killed in a fire many years ago. Sometimes they will knock at your door and ask to borrow some sugar. Rule 6. You can trust the postman. His name is Sam, and he's been the postman since before I moved in. He knows everything about this building and will help you survive. Good luck. After reading that note, I thought it was a sick joke. None of these rules could possibly be real. However, I would soon find out that I was wrong, and that this was just the beginning of our worst nightmare. A few hours later, when I opened the door to check for the mail, sure enough, the postman had delivered it when they said it would be. At about 11 a.m., my worst fears were confirmed when a friendly, middle-aged looking man carrying window cleaning equipment knocked on my balcony door. I ignored him, but no matter how hard I tried, he kept trying to talk to me. Our windows were sparkling, and due to our lack of curtains, I couldn't even hide from his gaze. I felt so exposed. He stayed for a total of 30 minutes exactly, and never once did he stop looking at me or knocking. He shouted the occasional ultra-friendly line or humble request for a beverage in the heat through the door, but I did my best to avoid eye contact. When he finally left, I looked outside every window in the apartment, but I couldn't see him on any of the other balconies or see any equipment suggesting he was around. He had vanished completely. When I checked my phone, I saw Jamie still hadn't texted me back. This wasn't normal. Jamie always texted me back quickly, so I decided to read his text again, and immediately chills shot down my spine. The old lady from apartment 65 asked to borrow some sugar. We'll be back shortly, love you. It read. I must have read that text hundreds of times over, hoping that it wasn't real, hoping that this rule about the dead residents was all just a big lie. But Jamie never came back. Hours had passed and I panicked. I cried. I left over 100 voice messages on his phone, but got nowhere. I finally decided that I would go find him. I knew I would be walking into my own death, but I had to find Jamie. I grabbed a kitchen knife and stepped out into the hallway. As soon as I closed the apartment door behind me, the hallway lights began to flicker. My anxiety quickly began to rise. As I reached apartment 65, I knocked gently, trying to keep my emotions in. After what felt like hours, the door creaked open, revealing only darkness. It felt as if the dark void was pulling me in. Swallowing hard, I called out, "Jamie?" Except I didn't hear Jamie's voice. Instead, an eerie whisper drifted from the apartment. "Can I borrow some sugar?" I froze, remembering that I had broken the most important rule. Immediately, the lights in the corridor went out and I felt an icy presence surround me. The next morning, Sam, the postman, approached the door of our apartment. He knocked lightly on the door, holding a small package. Except there was no answer. Growing concerned, he used his spare key to enter the apartment. The scene that greeted him was one of absolute chaos. Furniture was overturned, glass was broken, and there was a message written in blood on the wall. "You should have followed the rules."